let's talk about the meaning of life. This week I got to learn about the Library of Babel. This library is very interesting. It's a fictional one. In the library, you will find lots of books, and the books contain words that are formed by letters being put randomly next to each other. The key word here is randomness. Imagine that you have letters of the alphabet in your hands, and you would throw them onto the floor. These words would land on the floors randomly next to each other, and they would form words in the most random way. And these words are the words that you find in the books of the Library of Babel. For some reason, I find the connection between the Library of Babel and the meaning of life. My interpretation of the Library of Babel is that it reflects the way that we find meaning in life. The moment that we were born into this world is just like the moment that we enter the Library of Babel. Imagine that you are a visitor to this library. You will find a lot of books that contain lots of words that most of the time don't make any sense to you. However, there is a guarantee that you are bound to find words that would be meaningful to you personally in your language. For example, your name. Your name makes sense to you in your language and to the people you know. And even though you don't know when you will find your name, which book you will find your name in, and where those books are, but there is a guarantee that you will find your name somewhere in this library, and maybe it will appear horizontally or vertically or diagonally. You don't know, but there is a guarantee that that moment might happen. You will find your name. And in a way, this is just so similar to the way that we find meaning in life, isn't it? Like the moment that we were born into this world, not a lot of things make sense to us, especially as an infant. But as you go through life, you would encounter moments that would be meaningful to you and to you personally. And the interesting thing is that you don't know when it will happen, you don't know what it will be, and you don't know where it will take place. And isn't it just the same as when you try to find meaningful words in the Library of Babel? So I feel like in a way, all of us are just going through the Library of Babel, and this world is just like a gigantic Library of Babel. There are lots of words, and most of the time, they wouldn't make any sense to us. However, if we pay enough attention, we are bound to find words, to find moments that would be significant to us, and most importantly, they would be meaningful to us. And isn't it the meaning of life, I think I'm talking about the chances of you finding meaning in your life. It's so uncertain about the exact moment, about the exact thing, and about the exact place. However, there is absolute certainty that somewhere in this library, you are bound to find words, moments, or things that would make a lot of sense to you. There's one thing that saddens me a little bit. For some people, as they enter the Library of Babel, they go through lots of corners in this library. However, for some reasons, they wouldn't be able to find words that are meaningful to them. Maybe they just kind of pass by those words without noticing them. They miss them, and isn't it very sad? And I hope that as I go through the Library of Babel, I would have enough awareness to pay close attention to words, aka moments or things that are meaningful and valuable to me. Another thing is that words and language, they are in a way very personal. The words that are meaningful to me might not be meaningful to you, and it can be a very simple reason that we don't speak the same language, okay? I'm speaking Vietnamese, you're speaking Italian, so words that are meaningful to you are certainly not meaningful to me. Therefore, it's very hard to force upon the idea of universal meaning of life onto people if we use this analogy of the Library of Babel. Another thing that I has encountered this week, and it has made me very emotional, is a quote from a movie. It's actually a show. I was watching the TV series 1923, and there is a sentence the mother said to the daughter that struck me so hard. It made me tear up actually. The mother said, "I used to love seeing the world through your eyes, but it breaks my heart knowing that soon you will see the world through my eyes." And I feel like there were a lot of moments in the past my mom was just trying to tell me this, or she was just thinking this exact same sentence in her head over and over again. I'm just so afraid that maybe one day I will have a daughter. Wouldn't it be so sad if I have to not just tell her the sentence one day, but have the sentence in my mind when I look at her and when I look at how she is seeing the world, and the fear that one day she would see the world as how I'm seeing it. And boy oh boy, it's not the most ideal. And the last thing I would like to talk about is something that I just recently learned during lunch today. It's about the difference between being nice and being kind. I mean, the most ideal would be for a person to be both nice and kind. However, as I grow up, I kind of give up on that idea a little bit, because there are moments in our life when we are struggling to survive and we are just going through a very tough moment, when we are under an emotional strain, and it's just so hard for us to still be nice, to still act nicely, but the kindness is still there in our heart. And that's the difference between people being nice and being kind, you know. I have the privilege to experience two cultures, and when I am in these cultures, I'm in them for a very long time, so I have enough confidence to kind of voice my thoughts about these cultures. One is Asian and one is Western, basically. The thing about Western people, and I'm talking about people in the most general sense at the moment, you know, I'm not talking about people of specific regions or areas, but generally speaking, like the West, the idea of being nice and being civil is very important. That is called manners, I guess. And it is instilled in children from a very young age. You have to be nice to people around you, and you have to show people the politeness when you interact with them. But for people in Asia, I think not very much in this generation, but like in the previous generations, the idea of being nice is not very important, you know. For an outsider of Asian culture, it can be perceived as coldness, like why people being so cold, or worse, why they being so rude. They are not talking to the waiters or the waitresses, they are not saying thank you enough, they are not saying sorry enough. However, Asian people are very kind, you know, and we are kind in a very efficient way. We might not be very nice to you upfront, maybe because we have a lot going on in our life at that moment. We don't bother to think about being nice at all. However, kindness still lives in our heart, and if you are struggling, if you are in trouble, if you need help, we will come to your rescue. We will help you out, you know. That's not to say people in the West wouldn't help others when they see the fellow human beings in trouble, but I feel like the importance of being nice is very emphasized in the Western culture, you know. But it kind of flips in the Asian culture, where you kind of need to be kind, and being nice just comes second, to be honest. I don't really care if you are nice to me, you can talk to me or whatever or not. I don't really care. I would not take offense over that. However, I would really care if you are kind to people, you are kind to me, like when I'm in trouble, would you be there to lend me a helping hand? I would care most about that over whether you are nice or not. Like, you can be very aggressive when you help people, but at the end of the day, it's still you helping other people, and that is still being appreciated in Asian culture, even though it's kind of rough, you know.